Hi, I'm John White. I'm going to cover in this video biofeedback. Spooky2 can do two different types of biofeedback. He can either do a standard scan between a set of frequencies and find the optimum frequencies between those two, or he can refine frequencies in an existing database. I will load a frequency into Spooky. I'm going to load an anaphylaxis, which is a body's allergic reaction, a severe allergic reaction. I've ticked allow channel overrides and I'll click on the channel and you'll see that the program is loaded in 10,000 Hz. Now this section down here is the biofeedback scan options. I can detect the pulse maximum, minimum, or the heart rate variability. Heart rate variability is the amount the heartbeat changes. It's the rate of the beat. I can also select to find the input which is most above or below the running average, or I can use the maximum data values, and I can also select the resolution, whether to restrict it to 2 decimal places, which can speed up the results. There's a start delay here which gives the patient time to settle down. If you're running a scan on yourself, you may want to choose something like 120. If your heart rate is 60 beats per minute, the delay of 120 will give you 2 minutes for you to settle down, close your eyes and relax. Biofeedback scans are best performed with a patient lying down, eyes closed, maybe gentle, quiet music in the background to avoid any other distractions. The very ideal is for the patient to be sleeping. TENS pads, one pad on the right hand, the other pad on the left foot. Now I would just like to say that the settings which were in the program options, if I click on the wavy line, it means exit out from that channel but don't lose any of that information. You can see that the duty cycle, the amplitude, offset and phase angle, all these settings are going to be used by the channel which is performing the biofeedback scan. Okay, now for the purposes of this demonstration, I'll put a start to, well no I won't, I'll leave that as 120 and I'll just cut part of the video. Okay, we now start the biofeedback scan. Initializing comes up, the waveform is loading into the generator. Once the bars come up, there'll be a countdown commencing. It's still initializing. Initializing is when the internal variables within Spooky2 are being loaded with data. Okay, you can see my heartbeat coming through there. I have set it for the heart rate variability, which is the rate of change, and I'm relaxing, and so that is going down. Now this data is not currently being saved into any file or being used for analysis within Spooky, because we're still counting down the start delay. The start delay is 80, 79, 78. That will continue to 0. TENS pads are self-adhesive reusable electrodes. They can be placed on the body and are a comfortable means of applying frequencies, especially for long periods of time. With biofeedback scans, they are the most comfortable means of applying frequencies. You may purchase them at spooky2-mall.com. The price is the cheapest anywhere. We have found that placing one electrode on the right hand and the other electrode on your left foot and performing a biofeedback scan is the best means of detecting the correct frequencies. During the countdown, the frequency is being applied to the patient to get the patient accustomed to the frequency. Okay, we've now started scanning from 9999 to 10,001. That scan is being performed using increments of 0.01 Hertz. You can see this is now being recorded, the beats per minute 63, 66. It gives you the average heart rate in beats per minute. It gives you also the heart rate variability average in the current HRV. And so again, this is the graph that I'm producing now. I'm using an ear clip. I'm not lying down, and so these test results will not be valid, but for the purposes of the training video, it's ideal. We are now close to the end of the scan. After the scan is finished, there will be some results coming up. And here we go. It is now reported back that at this frequency, the heart rate variability was at the maximum. That would have probably been the spike here. I now know that instead of applying 10,000 Hertz, I can now make it 10,000.4, and that will be the optimum frequency for me for treatment. I can select to write to the database. The create frequency set menu comes up. I'll give it a name, John Anaphylactic. Frequencies and drill have been put in automatically, and maybe in additional notes I'll put in the date, Christmas 2014. I hope it was a good Christmas for everybody. I can select to email a copy to Cancer Clinic. This is quite a good thing to do because they collect all the information and it helps to build up the database. It makes it very, very powerful. It makes a community spirit. And I select save and exit. Now the program is now in there. So that is one way that Spooky can perform a biofeedback. He will look at the frequencies that are loaded into the channel and refine them to at least 2 decimal places. There's another method of biofeedback, and that is if there's no frequencies loaded into the channel, Spooky can now scan between 2 different frequencies. In this instance, Spooky will scan between 10,000 Hz and 20,000 Hz. He can scan in increments of 1,000 Hz or however you like, but I'll leave it at 1,000. I'm going to go to 1 decimal place for illustration purposes. I'll just look for one hit. It will only find one frequency between these 2 ranges. It will find the best one. And a start delay. Currently it's 20 beats. I'll just make it 5 beats because I don't want it to be too slow. I'm going to select again maximum HRV, which is the best means of detection. I'll choose to use the running average. So I'm going to see which heart rate variability is the most above the running average. There's an option here of performing it in a single scan. This is useful if you're doing a very large scan and you don't really need to go to a very fine resolution. And so currently it's 13 minutes. If we do a single scan, it's even under 1 minute, and so it actually shows 0. But I'll keep it as mini scans, and it's doing a scan between 10,000 and 20,000. And then we just select start. Now always when it's doing the initializing and the countdown, it applies the frequency first, so the body can become accustomed to the frequency. Now the start delay was 20 beats. We've got the setting countdown here, so it's 10 beats. This data is not being recorded until that hits 0 and the frequency starts incrementing. Okay, it now shows that the scan is being performed from 10,000 to 20,000 Hz. Okay, and it's found a hit, and it's now doing a re-inspection. Instead of the step size being 1,000, the step size has reduced to 100. and it's doing the resample of the hits. While a scan is being performed, it's not necessary to have the screen open. You can close the screen. The scan will still be underway. You'll see that this is a purple colour indicating that that channel is doing a scan. You can have many channels here all doing different things. Spooky2 can do many things at once. It can control 127 generators, and so there really isn't a practical limit to Spooky. Now Spooky has gone into increments of 10. It has completed the sub-scan of step size of 100 Hz. It's gone to 10. The next scan will be in increments of 1 Hz, then it will be 0.1 Hz because we set the decimal places to 1. And so over the course of 13 minutes, Spooky will find the exact frequency to apply, the best frequency to apply to attack and heal between 10,000 Hz and 20,000 Hz. The biofeedback scan has now finished, and Spooky2 is showing the scan results. The result is 10,362.9. It's given one frequency as a result because I said to only find the maximum hits to find is 1. The scan was between 10,000 and 20,000, and so the frequency that was detected as being the best frequency was 12,362.9. Now I just would like to say here that I do not have the TENS pads connected, and so this is just a natural variation in my heart rate whilst I was making this video. It's for illustration purposes only. And so this would be the optimum frequency to apply to myself if I had used the TENS pads. I can select to write to the database, and again the create frequency set comes up where I can enter a name and additional notes down here. I'll cancel out. When Spooky performs a biofeedback scan, the results are written to a file. The file is held in a subdirectory called scan data. If the program was not given a name, it's given a timestamp. The format of the file is this. The first field is the frequency being applied. The second field is the data that's being detected by the Spooky pulse. The third field is the running average, and the fourth is the deviation from the running average. This is a comma delimited file which can be used by any spreadsheet program. A Spooky2 researcher has imported this information and created a graph and done further analysis on the data. This gentleman discovered that he had two peaks here. These frequency spikes correspond to the frequencies of the two cancer viruses BX and BY. This man has got early stage cancer. He used heart rate variability as a means of detecting these two spikes. And that is biofeedback in a nutshell. One thing I hadn't mentioned was as the line goes above the graph, it means it's above the running average and it's indicating a stress. If it's green, it means that the heart rate is below its running average, and so it's relaxed. Okay, thank you very much for watching this video.